All right, everybody, welcome our Pega friends from all over the world to the July edition of What's New in Blueprint. As always, I'd like to welcome my friend and really the reason for this season, Pega Senior Manager of Product Marketing, Nikola Pitman.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy.
Nikola,
Um,
thanks for jumping on. Take it away for us.
as always, I'm just going to get straight into it today and just pull up Blueprint. I think that's always the best place to get started. So last month, I feel like we had a huge month last month. A lot of information came out as a part of PegaWorld. What I'm going to do during this session today is probably like 5 or 6 key changes or updates that we've made as a part of Blueprint. So just so that everybody has visibility of that, as always, please ask us questions. So this is an interactive session. Just pop anything that you have. There's a Q&A section that's been set up. Randy will be monitoring that. But for the moment, we're going to jump in and take a bit of a look at some of the latest and greatest in Blueprint. And then at the end of this, I'm actually going to jump out into Infinity Studio, which is our new AI first studio that's coming out in Infinity 26, which will be out in the next 1 to 2 weeks. So some really exciting stuff there around our Blueprint import. So what I've done today, I've cheated a little bit. I have created a blueprint just so that I can show you some of the really key features that have come out over the last month. So in here, I know that we do have a number of partners on the call. We also have some customers as well. So I've taken an example here of using an output from our application signature tool. So one of the things I know when we were on last time, there were a lot of questions around some of our customers that had, maybe some older applications and how they wanted to be using Blueprint still as an available tool to be able to help them reimagine, re-envision what these workflows can look like, but also how they can add AI agents onto their existing workflows. So what I've done in here, I have already done an application signature tool. So really what that's doing is it's analyzing the core application or the core workflows that you already have. I've added that in as a supporting asset. So as we see this here, this is one of the supporting assets. And when we start to go through the blueprint, as always, it's already pulled out what the industry is, the sub-industry, and then we get through to the application purpose. So I know, again, many people ask a couple of questions around this. We're constantly updating guidance around how you can best provide the design agents with information on what they should be doing as a part of this section. So just a friendly reminder to everyone on the call, there is always these little icons. When you see them around Blueprint, you can always go and click on that and understand more around how you can appropriately fill in this section of your Blueprint. So from here, with that application signature tool, we've now started to pull through into the workflow section. So of course, a couple of little things on here that those that are in Blueprint quite often will start to see. You can start to see now these chevrons. So these are exactly what the stages and steps are of your existing workflows. So if you jump in here and you see these types of details, all of these, of course, now are clickable and they'll actually push you forward as a part of your Blueprint, or you can stay back out in that section there and amend any of the different case types that you might have. So just on this screen here, again, a couple of things that have changed on here. I'm actually going to pull this in a little bit bigger just so that we can really refine it. One of the things that we put out last month was an indicator of fidelity. So when we talk with a lot of our customers, clients, partners around how they're using Blueprint, one of the things that they ask us is like, when do I know that I'm done? Like, what does it mean when you talk about high fidelity when it comes from a design perspective? So what you'll see on here now is these little indicators. So because I've done an import of that application signature tool, and I'm sure many of you when you're first interacting with Blueprint, what you will have in here, it might be an orange indicator. That means that you need to go in and actually have a look and start to provide some more guidance, or you might have absolutely nothing in there and it will come out as that gray. So if I just take a quick look in here at the collect details screen, I can see up the top that this is classified as in progress. So again, this is a really good thing for you to be using, whether you're designing in Blueprint, you're in a collaboration workshop, or you're trying to understand what that means when you go through into the import. This is the way that you would do it. So in here, I can see that this is actually because I haven't set any SLAs. And as I go through, I'm going to increase that to critical, is obviously very important. And then at that last bit there, going to transfer that over to the manager. And then we're going to set this one up here again for, let's go with 5 minutes. And as we start to fill this in, we will then see as I go through to save this, just that indicator there, oh, it hasn't updated for me. The indicator there, it'll start to move to a completely progressed state. So this is something that we do see quite often when we're going through blueprints. It's just ensuring that we have all of that information being filled out appropriately. And again, this will just give you that really good indicator of whether your blueprint has reached fidelity or not, which means that you're ready to then take that through into your build environment. So with the data model itself, no big updates to the data model for the time being. With business rules, we touched on this quite a bit during last session. So for those of you that haven't seen the business rules section yet, this is where you can start to build out any types of business rules that you have. So behind this, we're using things like a decision table to be able to build out the business rules. And you can actually drag and drop those directly into your any of the decision shapes that you have on the previous screen. We've also got reports. So this might be the first time that anybody has seen this. If you haven't been in Blueprint in the last 6 weeks, we've now implemented any types of reports as a part of your UI. So this is something that you would have as a part of one of the landing or the dashboard that you would have for the particular case type. And of course, you can see in here, there's a lot of different information that's coming through. Now, all of these are the suggested reports that you would have based off the case structure, as well as the data model as well. So if you wanted to go in and you wanted to actually amend this or add a report, you can go in and determine what the type of display is. You can suggest a report name. And again, you can then kick that out to your AI agent, a design agent, to get that to build out the report for you. So all of the reports in here, when you are going through and doing that import, all of that's covered. And again, I find this is a really interesting talking point when I'm sitting down with any of my business stakeholders or any of my customers in starting to understand what is really important to them. So this might be something that's driving a behavior. So something around like why they're actually building out this particular case type, how they're looking to put any type of agents into these processes. And I find this is a really good talking tool, not only to understand how they want to be reporting on what the execution is of the work, but actually when we understand what's really important, it can then start to reinform some of the design as a part of the overall case lifecycle. Now, one thing that will definitely be new to the people on the call is a section that we have around additional configuration. So this is a new section which appears anytime that you're uploading an output from the application signature tool. So this is where we have information from an older Pega application that's actually being passed through as a part of that configuration to make sure that when you're then building this out or improving that existing workflow that you have, that everything is getting covered and we're not leaving anything behind as a part of an older application or older workflow that you have. So if you haven't got hands-on with the application signature tool just yet, you can find that on Marketplace. And of course, if you want to get like just a copy of an old one, feel free to send either myself or Randy a message and we can give you an output of that so that you can start to play around with some of the configuration and Blueprint for it. Now, just on here, again, I know there are people that have already been on this call before, but for those that haven't, there's heaps of stuff that you can do on here. So anything that you want to highlight as a part of your field creation, you can build out things like case hierarchy as well. So understanding the relationships in between the cases, any types of attachment or attachment files, and of course, any of the release planning that you would have. So moving on from that section there, we're then going to land on the data and integration page. So this has been completely redone in the last 2 months. And this was something which Karim Akinol spent quite a bit of time on during the keynote, because it's a really core function when we look at how our center out architecture leads into the wider enterprise. So anything in here where you have an existing data object or that data model, of course, all of this is being built out within the application. And if you have anything that's external, of course, we have some options in here where you can put in some existing or also like some out-of-the-box connectors that you would have. And when you go through this, when you start to get down into the details of the resources that you have, just add a reference here for DocuSign field, let's say signature, if I could spell, of course. And when you start to get into the settings, we can then add things like endpoints. So again, I know a lot of people are working with a lot of clients and even clients that are listening to this today. There is a lot of information that we already have as a part of our enterprise. Now, of course, this is a manual stage. If we didn't want to go through this step, as always, when we're going out and building out the new system, we can then go and drag and drop anything that we have. So if we do have an existing DDL file or that YAML file, of course, just dragging and dropping that into here, we can then start to understand that and completely build out what this application will look like. Alrighty. With all the personas, these are the people who are going to be touching your application. So no major updates in this section for the time being. One of the things, of course, if you haven't been in here and haven't touched it just yet, we do have a new function around agentic processing. So when we talk about agentic processing, this is where you're offloading a task to an AI agent. So something that you might have noticed in one of the earlier stages, and I'm just going to jump back a fraction in the workflow itself. Just in here, you will have the option as a tick box to enable agentic processing. Now, anytime that you're doing this as a step, ultimately, this then means that this step is going to be handled completely by an AI agent. So when you hit the step, you can then kick that out to your AI agent, and it will either interact. In Blueprint, you can do this through, jump back into the personas here. When we're in here, you can do this through either email or you can do it on SMS as well. So this is something that you can jump in, have a bit of a play with, and it will actually engage with you interactively to be able to collect all of that information. So if you're doing this, and again, this is something that exists within Blueprint, it also follows you through into Infinity 26. So if you wanted to go in here, make the changes, chuck your phone number in, and you can run that interaction completely agentically. And just the last bit on here, we come through into our summary. So a couple of big changes that we've made on the summary page itself. We have this clickable section as a part of what some of the cloud capabilities are. And really, when we're speaking about Pega, this is an enterprise software application. So there's a number of things that come with Pega, anything from like security and encryption through to connectivity, all the rules and regulations. Now, a lot of these details can be found through at our Trust Center, which is pega.com/trust. But in here, this is a really good reference where you can very easily click into any of this. And of course, if you click View Documentation, that will then push you out either to the Trust Center or to Pega Docs most of the time. Now, there's a lot of things on here. And one of the really great things that the team has built in the last couple of weeks is around the AI assistant. So there's a number of things that the AI assistant can help you with. So if I just ask it a question like, how does Pega help me protect my data? As an example, it's going to understand the context around where you are right now on the screen. So you're looking here as a part of the cloud capabilities. And then what it's going to do is take a look through what is the most relevant thing in here to then help you understand or decipher all of the capabilities that exist as a part of Pega, as it is that enterprise software tool. So in here, a couple of quick hits. And again, I'm going to encourage everybody to go and create a blueprint off the back of this call, start to play with the assistant, build out a new case type, have a look at all of the new capabilities in here. But a couple of quick things. So we've got data at rest. So this in here is speaking about encryption, both data at rest and data in transit. We've got any kind of threat protection, so things like DDoS protection as a part of our Pega Cloud service. We've also got things like data residency, so how we're ensuring that we're isolating data as a part of the regional zones that we have. So again, just in here, we can absolutely kick out towards the Pega Trust Center. Oh, I should have done that as a right click. Let's see, maybe I can cancel it. There we go, we'll stay here. You can kick out towards the Pega Trust Center, or you can also have a look at that from any kind of the security documentation too. So jumping out into Pega Trust, again, you can get that more detailed version, but just here as a part of the cloud capabilities, again, I can interact with the agent, understand, ask questions, not only learn, but get real answers in regards to how Pega is an enterprise software. Any of the Blueprint apps that you're building in here, one of the things that we always talk about is like, how do I touch it? How do I actually get, touch, feel this application? And we do that through the button just at the bottom, which had that little reference there that said preview my app. So just in here again, we can start to process this case. And I'm actually going to jump to a feedback request just so that I can click around a little bit better. Actually, let's hit new maintenance so that I can click around a little bit better. So just in here when we land, everything is clickable, right? This is one of the things we talk about a lot around how do you actually interact with this. So Pega Blueprint, it's built on an Infinity application, and this is exactly what you get when you move through into the build environment. This is the starting point that you have to be able to hook into your enterprise. So like always, you've got the different views that you can see this on. Now, one thing that's in here that is new as a part of it in the customer service section is the ability to be able to create a simulation. So we've all seen the voice AI capability within Pega. This is something that we see a lot with our customer service application and the customer service self-service assistants that we have. And in here, you can now start to replicate this right through the Blueprint UI. So this does become, my experience in this is that when I've done like a back office process, sometimes when you're moving through the simulation, it is a little bit clunky, but if you build this out as if it is a customer facing process, of course, it makes a lot more sense. So if I'm to kick off this simulation, this will come through as a voice call. Now I'm going to decline this for the time being because it will start talking to me and then I need to stop it as we're moving through. But you can come in and you can completely play with this functionality. The last little bit on here that I wanted to show on screen before moving into our Infinity Studio is the new MCP agent integration. So we're often hearing and experiencing all ourselves how more and more an AI, like a productivity AI agent is becoming every single staff member and customer's right-hand woman, I should say. This means that as we start to transition our workflows or processes more so into an agentic future, they need to be accessible through these external productivity agents. So if we think about that top level down, we think about, myself as Nikola Pitman, I'm an employee and I'm working at let's say I'm working at a bank. I used to work at the bank, so it's very fitting. I'm working at the bank. I've got a customer in front of me, and as I start to interact with them, rather than going and searching on a repository or searching through a knowledge article, I can actually go straight to Claude and say, hey, Claude, I've got Randy here in front of me. He wants to do a business loan for X, Y, and Z. Can you please help me? The productivity agent then goes off into the background and goes, of course, this is exactly how we do a business loan. Now that response there, using this capability as a part of the Infinity Run MCP capability, that is going to be backed by a Pega workflow. So that the experience itself is a completely agentic experience, but underneath the hood there, it's being governed by a predictable and executable workflow that is following all of your business rules, all of your processes from start to finish. So if you want to get hands-on with this, you can do this exactly through Blueprint, and this is the way that you do it. So depending on what your organizational policies are, you might be either using Claude, you might be using something like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Perplexity, whatever your choice is of productivity agent, any of these can be connected. And there's just some handy instructions on here for how you would go about connecting up these services. So here you have the URL. All that you're doing is you're essentially going in, you do this as a custom connector. And then from there, when you're interacting through the chat, all of that will be plugged in. So after we post this video, I would absolutely love if people would be able to comment if they've had a try, after we post it on expert circles, just put a comment in there if you've been able to try this, experienced it, and just a bit of an understanding of really what that looks like. All right, we are going good for time. Now Blueprint itself, it doesn't just stop there. And that's probably one of the most important things when we're moving through. Each blueprint, we can go ahead and download this blueprint. So when you download it, it comes out as a .blueprint file, and that blueprint file can then be uploaded into your build environment. So this is Infinity 26 for those that haven't seen it, a little sneak peek of what's to come in the next couple of weeks. I'm not spoiling anything. We did speak about it at PegaWorld. That would have been 3 weeks ago now. And what you're seeing in here is the Infinity Studio. So this is our new AI first studio. We have the AI assistant here on the left-hand side. And I'm sure that you guys are thinking, wow, that looks like Blueprint. It does. So some of the like the really great things about Blueprint, we've actually pulled them into Infinity Studio. So things from a design point of view, like what you're looking at visually on the screen here, this is just like what you would see in Blueprint. So I can click through again, things like the workflows where I see those chevrons, understanding that data and integration section of it, as well as the personas for who's interacting with this case type. And the latest thing that comes as a part of this is the implementation plan. So this used to be not exactly hidden, but to get to this in a previous version, if you're in 25 or even in 24, you would be going through to the Agile Workbench. Now, all of this is upfront for you as a part of your kind of like About Me, the section of the application that you first land on. So anything that's in here, of course, now this is a different application than I was just looking at. We can go ahead and click on this and start to understand what this step is about. So when we're out in Blueprint around that concept around high fidelity and really building out some of the structure of the of the workflow and what the intent of the different steps and stages are, anywhere that you put that information then comes through in here as a part of that detailed description. So there's things that are already that are understood based on what the design is of Blueprint, but anytime that you're adding in those notes, those additional notes in there, all of this comes through. Now, just one little thing in here that you might have seen, again, if you've watched Karum's keynote, you've already seen this, but with the AI assistant and with the Blueprint implementation plan, everything starts to come together. So just here on the task itself, you can see how I have one of our AI icons. Now, when I click on that, on the bottom left-hand screen, you will now see the context of the user story become a part of the request that I can give out to the AI assistant. So this AI assistant, you can see here, I've got Sonnet 4.6. Of course, I can change that. Whoops, I should click better. I can change that out to any model of my choice. And at the moment in here, if I look at the providers that I've got, I do have this hooked into my GitHub Copilot license. So any enterprise software license that you have across GitHub Copilot, OpenAI, or Anthropic, you can pull these in to be able to power your development experience. So just in here, I've clicked this little button, and then straight away, given that context, I can actually fire that off to the agent on the left-hand side, where it's going to start to look at what, ultimately what's happening. So what do you want me to do as a part of this ticket? And then it's going to build me out a complete plan for it to then start doing these activities. So just talking about the AI assistant for a hot second, anytime that you're interacting with the AI assistant in the background, what it's doing is it's creating an internal change request to Pega, which is then building you out a separate branch. So any changes that the AI assistant is doing, it's using myself or at least yourselves as the individual to be ultimately to have the permissions to do the activities, and it's isolating each one of those changes into a branch. What that means is that you can go in, of course, have a look, make sure that you can test it, see what changes have been made, ultimately before merging that back into your core application. So behind here, we've got change requests, we've got the MCP skills, we've got agent skills, MCP tools, all backing this and building on the model-driven architecture that Pega offers you. So a lot of stuff that's come out. I'm now at 26 minutes. I feel like I've done a good job. So just like a really quick recap of all of this, and watching people's AI agents work is, while it's very fascinating, it's also not very entertaining. So I'll let this run while I just kind of recap on a couple of things. So one of the main things we spoke about, again, 5 things that I spoke about today. Number 1 is is with document upload, how you can pull in that application signature tool. On the workflow details section, we've got the new Fidelity Indicators to tell you how close this application is and how much information and structure that we have in it. And for those that have gone ahead and uploaded a application signature output, we have an additional configuration section so that you can ensure that everything is being pulled through from an existing application. In summary, we've got the AI assistant as a part of the cloud capabilities section where you can ask any question in here around the enterprise standards that Pega ensures that your software runs at. Get those quick answers, get all of the links, get everything pushed out. In the preview section, we've got the simulations. Whoopsie days, I clicked the wrong one. Just in here, we've got the simulations where you can go and talk using the voice AI capability to understand it. And you can hook this up to any enterprise productivity agent for you to be able to run your workflows agentically. And last, probably the coolest thing and the most important is the import into Infinity Studio, where you can see the complete implementation plan and then hand that off to your AI agent to get it to do the work for you and close out your blueprint into an enterprise grade application in your production environment. That's it, Randy. That's the whirlwind.
Oh,
That's the tour.
that's it. There's nothing else to add, Nikola. It was like a
No, that's it.
no notes sprint from start to finish. Like usually I got to jump in just to keep things moving. And that's unbelievable, all the stuff we have there. I got to tell you, I don't know how many people we have on. I don't have that list up, but I guarantee you 90% of the people haven't seen all this. Like, this is unbelievable. I like that we have this working relationship, Nikola, where you get to answer all the easy questions and do all the easy presentations, and I do the hard ones. So today I didn't get to do much. Well, that's unbelievable. Listen, Nikola, what a great job. Listen, that brings us right about to 30 minutes. And as always, great stuff. Like, this is where you're going to get it first. And that just brings us to the end of another What's New in Blueprint. Great thanks to everybody who shows up today, especially the smart and talented Miss Nikola Pitman. Listen, watch on your calendars because we're going to set this as a recurring event. So it happens every Monday, the first Monday of every month at 3:30. Next up is August 3rd. Until then, I guess, listen, just remember, if you have an idea, your app is just a blueprint away, okay? So until then, we'll see you all next month. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you.